my name is Caroline. Welcome back to Civics. Today we get flooded with political ads that attack their opponent's character and twist their positions. Each major political party engages in these campaigns that oversimplify their opponent's positions and misinform the public. But what is the purpose of political parties, and how did they develop over time? I was at my desk the other day thinking about how I would tell this story, wondering if it had always been this way. Then I remembered I have a time machine. I can just show you. Pretty convenient, right? Today, you will analyze the historical origins of political parties in America, their development over time, and their purpose. Grab that notebook or tablet you've kept handy throughout the course. Before we hop into the MiaPrep 3000, I need you to flip back to your notes from the previous lesson. Gotta be sure we have a rough idea about what to look for. Remember that in America, there are only two dominant political parties. That's right, we have a two-party system. And people tend to identify one party as liberal and the other conservative. But there was a problem with that. Can you remind me? That's right. Those words actually reference a particular issue's current legal status. So either party, in reality, can be both liberal and conservative, depending on the issue. Got it? Makes sense, right? Now, let's put the coordinates into the MiaPrep. And here we go! Click on the Insta-Hista thingy-doo, Hickey, so we can get some background information. Bingo! So it looks like in 1789, George Washington was unanimously elected president. But during his two terms, the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists had organized themselves into the first two political parties. These political parties were the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans. Both political parties grew out of a network of local, state, and national leaders, organized to support each party's stance on the major issues of the day. The purpose of each party was to promote and ensure their positions became policy. The Federalists, led by Alexander Hamilton, had a clear plan for the nation. The Democratic Republicans organized in opposition to that plan. One political party always develops in opposition to another political party. This is a key feature of the two-party system. Let's find out what those issues are. You step out of the time machine and round the corner of Pennsylvania Avenue. A man stands on the corner yelling to people walking by that Thomas Jefferson declared winner of the presidential election. The man says, "Find out how the Federalists plan to oppose his policies." At the newly declared federal capital, disagreement around the role of this new federal government has long shattered the revolutionary consensus. A loud noise is coming from the steps of the White House. Let's listen in and see what we can learn. One gentleman demands, "The nation must continue the Federalists' vision for a strong national economy and powerful federal government if America is to thrive." The other man responds, "The Constitution does not empower the federal government to simply spend on anything it wishes. We must strictly interpret it in order to prevent tyranny. Otherwise, we will thrive as an America void of the revolutionary principles." The first gentleman responds, "Those principles are already dead if America shrivels under the weight of economic destitution and regional squabbling." He pushes the newspaper into the other hand and says, "Read it yourself. Now I know I was right." I think we've heard enough. You see, the purpose of these political parties is to promote their beliefs on issues that impact the nation, as well as oppose whichever party is in power. Let's head back to the MiaPrep. Now that we're back, I want to find out who those guys were. What is so contentious about these two parties? Let's plug that into the Insta-Hista and see what we can find. Hot dog! Looks like we found something.
So it turns out that the two men on the lawn were Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr, each from a different party, who had a long-standing political disdain for one another. After Hamilton attacked Burr's character in a newspaper, Burr challenged and killed him in a duel. Makes all our modern political ads seem pretty civil, huh?
Let's log what we have seen so far. What were the first two political parties? What is one of the key purposes of a political party? What is the purpose of the party not in power? What did the first two political parties believe? Which one do you think was liberal? Conservative? Why? I'm curious as to how these two parties turn out, and what other purposes do political parties serve? To find out, we need to hop forward a bit. Let's go! As we zoom through space-time, let's discuss American politics. American electoral politics is a competition in which there have only ever been two major teams. The first two parties were the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans. By 1812, the Federalists were no longer a party. By 1828, the Democratic Republicans split into Democrats and the National Republicans. By 1834, there were the Whigs and the Democrats. But like the National Republicans, the Whigs did not last long. Since the 1850s, it's been the Democrats and Republicans. To get a closer look at the development and collapse of these parties, take a look at the Time Traveler's Guide in the PDF. Let's hop out and see what we find. We hop out in a grassy field. We can see the Mississippi snaking its way past the small city of Alton, Illinois. The nation sits at the edge of the Civil War as the question of slavery is dividing America. Barges filled with furs, corn, and wheat meander past the little town that is hosting the last of 9 debates between Stephen Douglas and Abraham Lincoln. A man in the crowd turns and says, "Lincoln is gonna put the Republicans on the political map." Another man yells, "Be quiet, Illinois belongs to the Democrats." This debate is more than a chance to promote a party's beliefs. It's about winning elections and controlling the government. Someone looks at them and says, "Shh, Lincoln is about to speak." We hear Lincoln, a Republican, reply to Douglas's attacks. "They meant to set up a standard maxim for the free society which should be familiar to all, constantly looked to, constantly labored for, and even though never perfectly attained, constantly approximated, and thereby constantly spreading and deepening its influence, and augmenting the happiness and value of life to all people of all colors everywhere." He must be talking about the Declaration of Independence and American democracy. Republicans wanted to end slavery. In the 1850s, the Republicans were the party for political and social change. Seems liberal, right? I think we understand now. Before we can split, you've got to show what you know. Let's get this in the log. Draw a timeline that tracks the different parties. What were the two major parties by the 1850s? Was the Republican stance on slavery liberal or conservative? Why? Remember, liberal references a person or party's desire to see the legal status of an issue change. Conservative reference the desire to keep it the same. And finally, what other purpose do political parties serve? Let's recap what we learned on the way home. First, we learned that the purpose of political parties is to promote shared beliefs and visions on important issues. They are also designed to promote themselves, win elections, and control government. Finally, political parties have changed over time in terms of whether they are liberal or conservative. We made it back! Next time, we will look at third parties in America. Yep, they exist. Until then, remember to vote, debate, and participate. Hey, hey!